Part of what makes CKUA special is that it's able to serve a huge, diverse community thanks to the wide reach of its signal. And that signal is made possible by the vast technical infrastructure that carries it. Recently, a crucial part of that whole chain and of CKUA's future needed to be urgently addressed. Specifically, CKUA's satellite was falling out of the sky. Andrew Birdall, President, Americas and Asia for Network Innovations, and CKUA CEO Mark Carnes sat down for a conversation about how it may have felt like the sky was falling, but Andrew and Network Innovations were able to step in to help CKUA replace and modernize its satellite infrastructure. Here's Andrew Birdall on how he became part of the CKUA community in the first place, eventually coming forward to make a big difference for the CKUA cause.
Yeah, it's really interesting actually, because I've been in Alberta now for just over 5 years and moved actually in from Australia to Canada as part of the role that I'm doing in my day-to-day work. And so from there, because I also had this background in music as well from way back in my past, I'm always very keen on picking up new music, etc. So I was actually introduced by somebody to CKUA. I'd come across the dial. I didn't quite understand what it was. And then after 2 or 3 years, someone was pointing out to me, no, this is what it is. It's been around in the community for almost 100 years. It's a really unique kind of station. It's got incredible kind of community reach. People love the entity, and it's really something special in Canada. You should pay more attention. So I started to pay more attention there, got quite connected to it, and then met somebody who introduced me further to the board and said, well, look, if you're looking for people with a bit of a tech background who might be able to come in and kind of add some value on the board side of things, then maybe you should talk to Andrew. So I kind of got a sort of soft introduction, and it was great for me because it kind of combined for me kind of the elements of that I work in day to day and what I absolutely have as a big passion, which is music, and it's kind of combining all of that together into something that, you know, hopefully will remain strong in the community for another 100 years. So from my perspective, you know, it was a no-brainer really to join the board and try to kind of do something to kind of help the station move forward.
CKUA has frequencies beaming all across Alberta from 16 transmitters scattered throughout the province. So how does a satellite end up being such a key component of CKUA's FM radio broadcast? CKUA CEO Mark Carnes gave us the view from way up high.
It's integral to our entire FM transmitter system. So, you know, we like to think we're in the internet age and we can just run cable and run internet wherever we need to go. But, you know, it's dealing with rural markets in Alberta, I mean, connectivity isn't that reliable. And, you know, being a 24/7 service, we need to make sure that we're constantly having redundancy in everything we do. So satellite is actually the easiest way in a lot of ways to reach those sites that are quite remote. So the way it's worked in the past is we would actually run a cable from Edmonton to Calgary, from Calgary all the way to Mississauga. And then they would upload the signal to our satellite, and then the satellite would distribute to all 16 transmitter locations. And it was only then that your signal actually gets turned into FM. So most of our business is actually digital technology. And so that has a lot of challenges, you know, and, you know, something as simple as if there's a bad weather storm at Mississauga, I can take the satellite offline. And then we get listeners calling us going, you're off the air. And we're like, but it's a beautiful day out. What are you talking about? And then we realize it's because there's like a tornado in Ontario. So, you know, some challenges there, but having a satellite company that's, you know, locally based and kind of regional helps a lot for sure.
The satellite that was serving CKUA's signal presented many challenges. On top of the fact that it was falling out of the sky, it also presented limited technological capabilities. The infrastructure support that Andrew Birdall and Network Innovations have been able to offer turned this potentially dire scenario into a great opportunity for CKUA to embrace the future in exciting new ways. Here's how Andrew described the ways that they were able to help CKUA move forward into this new era.
So there's a couple of parts to this. So firstly, obviously, what was happening with the satellite, it was going inclined, which basically means it's run out of fuel to stay in its box. You have to fly it in a figure of 8 and keep it in its space. And as you run out of fuel, you obviously want to turn the fuel on and off less so that the figure of 8 becomes more, which means when you're pointing directly at that satellite, often if it's outside of the box of view, you would lose connection. So you have it in this situation where you have to go and change to a different satellite. You have no choice. So what we first have to do is kind of find another satellite that's going to cover the area properly, that's going to give us the opportunity to kind of provide the right amount of bandwidth that's required. And once it's selected that satellite, we then know, okay, we need to repoint all of the antennas attached to the transmitters to that. But in the process, we also found out that there was the way that the transmitters were receiving the stream of content coming from CKUA was actually through an older fashion, which was like a what we'd call a broadcast or DVB channel. And what we wanted to do was look at, well, everything is moving now into more of an IP age. And the streams that we would want to send out from CKUA, having to get converted in the satellite station to DVB and then converted again as they hit the other side. Why not move into an IP situation, so more of a kind of internet type connection? But the first step is to kind of like transmit or get all of the transmitters moved across and make sure that the current way of doing things, sits perfectly in there and is very stable. And once that's done, somewhere down the track, we've got options then to really add different types of solution at the transmitters that we couldn't do before.
Very exciting, and I'd like to ask Mark a little bit about what this could mean, but very briefly, I keep seeing an image of 2001: A Space Odyssey and a spacewalker tweaking a satellite. I'm assuming it's not actually like that.
No. So the satellite up there, you can't go up there and do much. There are new technologies looking at sending basically a fuel cell up to existing satellites and refueling them rather than replacing them, because once they're in space and they're locked in their orbit, they last a very, very long time before they eventually become kind of obsolete. And it's possible to go and refuel them these days, which is a whole different level of sort of space age than I'm used to dealing with. So that is definitely a sort of different thing. But no, there isn't anybody flying around in a spacesuit trying to repoint the satellite for CKUA, unfortunately. That would be a great story.
I offered, but they wouldn't take me.
Ultimately, this situation is a wonderful example of how the CKUA community has come together time and again for nearly a century now to find ways of not only overcoming obstacles, but turning those situations into opportunities for innovation and evolution. Mark Carnes shares the way that this has been a galvanizing opportunity for the larger community to rally their support for CKUA.
Well, I mean, one of the things we haven't really talked about, but Network Innovations has been very generous with donating some equipment and a lot of time to make this possible. This was a project that we certainly hadn't planned on. And so it came as a surprise with the price tag that comes with it. And so, Network Innovations was really helpful in terms of providing a lot of the equipment that was necessary. We were able to then leverage that to go to the Edmonton Community Foundation for some funding, and we had some donors that come forward. So, it's a way of people sort of seeing how many different pieces go into making CKUA. It's technology, it's people, it's programming, it's innovation. I mean, this is what we're doing from a satellite technology piece is actually like quite forward thinking. And so, I think it's another example of the way that CKUA is always trying to push the boundaries, whether it's on demand and those types of things. And so, the donors that come forward from this project were people who are very appreciative that we're trying to sort of not just recreate the past, but kind of move forward. And so, I think it opens up a lot of opportunities where organizations, people can say, hey, you know what, I really care about something specific that you're doing, and I want to help make that happen.
It is very much a way to actually give some value into the community again. And so every time we can do that and do that on a human basis, then that really excites me, because it's more than just a commercial transaction. It's actually helping to give people content or service that they actually require on a human level. So I think that's something that definitely excites me about this project.
As we just heard, this satellite project is a great testament to the resilience and generosity of the CKUA community at large. CKUA relies on the support of our donor community to help fund all of our many streams of content, whether it's putting our signal out over the FM airwaves all across Alberta, or online and on the CKUA app, or producing digital offerings like this video you're watching right now. Your donation plays a crucial part in CKUA's mission to connect Albertans and the world with music, arts, and culture. This particular chapter of CKUA's ongoing story has certainly come to a happy conclusion, but you can be part of writing chapters to come as we continue to move forward together. Head over to ckua.com to learn how you could get involved. And thank you